Hey there, YouTube. Speedrobo here. I got a request to revisit my old Elk deck and see if I can't update it. Back in 2014, I used to main Elk. This was right after Diva's Duet came out, and I mained Elk because Duo just wasn't viable back then. Victoria wasn't around, so we didn't have a way to consistently clone rearguards. So I used the Elk Vert deck, and the idea behind the deck was to draw an overwhelming amount of cards and be able to defend everything. Well, the Vert Alk deck just isn't viable anymore. It's been completely power crept out by Harmony, Prism, and Duo. So I've revisited the deck and reformatted it to be a little bit stronger for today's meta. Now, I will say that this deck is by no means competitive. It is for casual only, but it will hopefully do fairly well in a casual environment. So let's get right into the profile. The forerunner is Bermuda Triangle Cadet Weddle. Since we're using basically a generic Bermuda deck, no subclans, Weddle is always going to be the best forerunner. She just is. It's pretty much impossible to improve upon perfection unless we get something that's direct power creep. Weddle's always going to be Queen of the Hill. Now, this deck does run a lot of duos, so another option is that you could put in duo Lover's Scene or Darling, or if you have a soft spot for Akari, then she'll work just fine as well, but my personal preference is Weddle. She's fast, she's flexible, and I've talked about her before on this channel. So let's move on. For the trigger lineup, I run 4 heal and 12 crit. Now, all of my triggers are duo because there is a little duo splash in this deck, and it's nice just to duo out the triggers, but this isn't a requirement. If you don't have the duo triggers, run what you've got. However, I do recommend 4 copies of Love Trump Chulam, as she's a nice effect crit that recycles herself, as long as you have a Vanguard with duo in its card name, which that's not too hard to pull off in this. Going into grade 1s, let's talk about my perfect guards, because this probably looks a little funky. Um, Basically, you can run any of the perfect guards that you want. Just pick one. It's not super important. I would lean a little bit more toward Image Master Kukuri for this deck, as the duo card name isn't a big deal. We aren't using Harmony stuff, so Wiz doesn't really matter. Her Harmony isn't too important. Ellie's just generic. So I would use Kukuri if you've got her. If you don't have her, don't sweat it. Run what you've got. Not going to make that big of a difference. Then I run 4 copies of Duo Happy Diary Cheryl. She's here to boost your hand. If you don't have something to draw cards in the current meta in your deck, you're going to get left behind real fast. And Cheryl's here to make that happen. Since I do also run 4 copies of Duo Clear Parasol Kura, how her ability interacts with Kura's ability is that her draw is free, is Soul Charge 1, that Soul Charge gets you what you need to countercharge, making the counterblast cost for Cheryl to draw you the card effectively not a cost at all. So she's fantastic, it's a free draw, it's got Duo in the card name, what's not to love? And as I said, run 4 copies of Duo Clear Parasol Kura. She's the countercharge engine for the deck. If you're building a Bermuda deck, you basically need Kura or Nina at 4 copies. I don't know why you wouldn't. I don't know where you would get your countercharge from if you don't have this. I don't know, maybe one of the new grade 2s. Maybe White Crystal Rika, if you like that card. You can get your countercharge from there. Personally, I feel like Kura is by far the strongest card to countercharge in the entire clan. So there you go. 4 Kura. She's going to be pretty much 4 of in every Bermuda deck I make. Then you got 3 copies of Extraordinary Freshman Shizuku. So we're running an Alk deck, and Alk requires a constant influx of grade 3s to sustain herself. So 3 copies of Shizuku. She searches for grade 3s. There you go. Going into grade 2s, I run 4 copies of Rio. Wow, look, hey, Rio's back. Another card that I basically put in every Bermuda deck because she's amazing. You bounce her, you counterblast, you draw, you soul charge. Great stuff. She's Happy Diary, but without Duo in her card name. Oh well. Duo's not a huge part of this deck, we just got a little splash of it. And then 4 copies of Spica. This card's still great. You Generation Break 1, Counterblast 1 when she attacks and is boosted. You bounce 1, call 1, give it 3. Multi-attack dot engine. Great card. Now, you may notice I only have 8 grade 2s here, and that's because my last grade 2 is a Cray Elemental, and that would be 2 copies of Heat Element Bois. Auto Rearguard retire this unit. When this unit's attack hits a Vanguard, you may pay the cost. If you do, search your deck for up to 1 card with a limit break, reveal it to your opponent, put it into your hand, and shuffle your deck. Like I said, we're running Alk, and Alk requires constant grade 3s in order to sustain herself. And all of the grade 3s in this deck have limit break, so Bois can search for them, and he provides a tasty little on-hit pressure in the mid-early game, somewhere in there. So, good stuff on Bois. Back to the Bermuda section, and let's talk about grade 3s, the real meat of the deck. We've got 4 Custom Idol Alk. And I've said it multiple times in this video already, it's an Alk deck. She's going to be here, she's going to be at 4. So for those of you who don't know what her ability is, here it is. Auto Vanguard Limit Break 4. At the end of the battle that this unit attacked a Vanguard, choose a grade 3 Bermuda Triangle from your hand. You may write it as rest. If you do, choose a card named Costume Idol Alk from your soul, put it into your hand, and draw a card. So she lets you rewrite grade 3s, bounce yourself back to the hand, and draw a card. Clearly this ability was meant to break ride spam, and that's what this deck does, it break ride spams. Then her other ability is Auto Soul Blast 1. When this unit's placed on the Vanguard circle, you may pay the cost. If you do, choose up to 1 of your Bermuda Triangle rearguards, return it to your hand, and this unit gains 5,000 power until end of turn. So nice little on-ride bounce, nice little power bump. And comboing that plus 5 with the break ride makes Alk 26k, so she can hit stride numbers. Not too shabby. And then, of course, she's got Lord, which is no longer relevant because clan fight. So, last grade 3, 4 copies of Duo True Sister Mirror. I'm sure many of you saw this coming. Auto Vanguard, Limit Break 4. When a Bermuda Triangle rides this unit, choose your Vanguard, and until the end of turn, that unit gains 10,000 power, and Auto Vanguard Counterblast 1. When this unit attacks a Vanguard, you may pay the cost. If you do, return all of your Bermuda Triangle rearguards to your hand, then choose up to 2 Bermuda Triangle from your hand, call them to separate rearguard circles. During your turn, if the number of Bermuda Triangle rearguards you have is 4 or more, she gains 2,000 power, and Lord. So, like I said, last time I had this deck way back almost 3 years ago now. This deck is old. I used Alk and Vert. That's when power crept out. Now, attentive viewers will notice that recently I've been singing the praises of Vert, and she's the best grade 3 in the clan. Yes, she is. However, if we go Alk Vert here, Vert's just going to take over Alk. It will become a weak Prism deck because there will be no reason to ever go to Alk when you can just spam the powerful Prism strides and sit on Vert forever. There will be no reason to ever use this card. So, since we want it to be an Alk-focused deck, Mirror is the better option, because going with Alk and Mirror and break spamming Mirror Alk every single turn will give you a pseudo Olivia every turn. Mirror basically grants Olivia's ability, except that you can't choose what you bounce, you have to bounce all of it. It doesn't all have to have different card names, so that's a plus, but you don't get the crit. You're still hitting for 26 on your Vanguard solo, you're still getting the bounce, and you're still getting the call too. So overall, that's some pretty good stuff, being able to sort of Olivia every single turn. And that's the idea behind the deck. You're just going to want to, hey, look, I can Olivia constantly, and, you know, it's okay. But here's the downside to Alk. You can't stride when you use her, and that's part of what I don't like about her now, because her limit break isn't at the end of turn like I know the Gold Paladin copy of this is. You cannot use Alk in conjunction with stride, so some of the Generation Break stuff is going to be tricky to get off. Thankfully, there's G Guardians now, so if you've got to heal your set, you may have to stride once, like ride to Mirror and then stride to the Mirror Stride or Nectaria, something like that, just to get your Generation Break active. So that's the core combo of the deck. Going into strides, the G zone, it's not very interesting. We'll start with G Guardians. 3 Leona, 1 Nasha, pretty standard stuff. There really isn't another combination that you would run. You can toss in the Cryo Elementals if you want, not really going to make a difference. I do like Leona though, the bounce is nice, can get you some extra draws or stuff if you feel like it. And then for strides, we have 4 Olivia because getting the crit is good. So if you can go to Olivia, probably go to Olivia and skip the break ride shenanigans, because Olivia just is better, pure and simple. Because she gets a crit. Crits are good. And then 3 Duo Absolute Sister Mirror. This card is mediocre, but we've got a 16 card G zone, so why not just run everything? And Olivia's really only the best stride in here, and the only one I'd want to go to multiple times. I just put in 3 Mirror because why not? 1 Morris, she's a good first stride. 1 Nectaria, she's a good first stride if you've got Mirror. 1 Somni, she's a good first stride. 2 Elprina, she's a good first stride. And that's the G Zone, and that's the deck. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. I'm more than happy to answer them. I've been Speedrobo. Thanks for watching.